I'm Joan Epler. Please join with Dr. Gary Epler, Harvard Medical School. Dr. Epler recently discovered new brain science, and today we're going to talk about how this applies to happiness.
I'm Dr. Gary Epler. I made a new brain science connection about transferring unhealthy thinking to healthy thinking. I call this Know Who You Are Moment by Moment. Today, we're going to apply this to happiness.
This new brain science is that you can only think out of one region of your brain at a time. So know the brain region you're thinking from, and that's who you are, moment by moment. How does this apply to happiness?
The new brain science is about knowing the regions of your brain and learning to transfer out of the two bad regions, the anger center and the self-centered thinking region, in a few seconds. Happiness is about staying out of these two regions and spending time in your accumbens pleasure center.
What does happiness mean to you?
Being content with what you have moment by moment. Being content with what you're doing moment by moment, especially during troubling times. It's living a good life with meaning and contentment.
What do the studies show about happiness?
Turns out that genetics counts for about 50% of your happiness level. Take a look at babies. You can determine their lifetime level of happiness by watching them. Some are smiling and active, others are irritable and nervous. About 10% of happiness comes from those life events, such as getting married, getting a raise, or buying a house. These occasions will provide a new level of happiness, but their effects are usually fleeting, sometimes a few hours or days, and sometimes even a few years. Most people eventually return to their baseline level of happiness over time. The good news is that you're in charge of that remaining 40% of happiness, and that's plenty.
That sounds good. How do people maintain a high level of happiness?
It's all internal. It's the new brain science. Focus on what's internally important. This means spending time doing what you enjoy. It's an old cliche by now, but it's living your passion. It's being engaged in the day. It's having meaning in your life. People who maintain high-level happiness enjoy the moment.
What are some external things that can provide happiness?
Music. Music can give us a feeling of happiness. Listening to the right type of music can make us happy. It produces the feel-good neurotransmitters such as endorphins and dopamine. Music can change the brain and create new neural pathways. For example, individuals who have had an injury in a specific brain region, music can actually create a new neural pathway for improved function.
Anything else for immediate happiness?
Smile. Smile for the feeling of happiness. It's about neurolinguistics. That's the connection between words and action. You think happy words, you'll feel happy. You smile, you'll feel happy. The brain makes a connection between a smile and being happy. So when you're smiling, you feel happy. How about laughing? Yes, that'll bring happiness. This is especially true if the laugh is about a positive story. But laughing at other people's expenses may produce a frown. Smiling and laughing at positive events brings happiness.
What does being in the flow mean?
In the flow. You've experienced a wonderful day where everything goes well, or you're enjoying doing something when you forget about the time and the surroundings. You're happy, you're content. This is being in the flow. It's a state of mind described by University of Chicago psychologists Schitz and Mihaly. The idea of flow is that you experience happiness when totally absorbed in an activity where your skill level is equal to the challenge. If that challenge is greater than your skill, you'll be frustrated and probably quit. If your skill is greater than the challenge, you'll get bored.
What happens when you're in the flow?
When your skills and challenge are equal, you'll always know the next step. You'll have immediate feedback. You're focused on the activity with no distractions. You don't think about failure. You have no thoughts about yourself. And you don't care what other people are thinking about you. Time is distorted. Either it expands, becoming 10 seconds during a triple jump at a track meet that only takes a second, or it contracts, becoming minutes, working on a new discovery that takes hours. The activity becomes so enjoyable that you want to do it again and again because it's pleasurable and brings you happiness.
How do you get in the flow?
Here's what you can do. Balance your skills with challenges as often as possible so you can experience the pleasurable feeling of flow. There will be some situations when your skill level is not equal to the challenge. When this happens, recognize it and grind through the challenge until complete. Don't quit. It won't be easy. You'll have to work at it. The experience won't be pleasurable, but do the work without frustration or delay. Don't feel sorry for yourself by thinking from your singular, self-centered brain region. Do the work. You don't need to be in the flow 24 hours a day. Take on challenges, develop new skills, discover new insights. Equalize your skills with the challenge for the feeling of pleasure and
What
happiness.
does the new brain science have to do with happiness?
Know who you are moment by moment. This means know your brain region and stay out of the anger center and that self-centered thinking region. You can only be in one brain region at a time. If you're in one of these two regions, you can't be in your accumbens pleasure center or that positive relationship center.
What do you
happiness.
do if you develop a low level of happiness? It's going to happen in our lives in 3 situations: financial, job, or relationships.
It is going to happen. There's something in finance, job, or relationships 2-3 times in your life. And this is what I do. On a scale of 1 to 10, you need to maintain a level of 8 to 10. A few times, as I said, one of these situations is going to send you down to a low level. If you're at 5 or below, you likely require professional help for improving your life. That is a low level. But level 6 is not sustainable. And that is a level we can get to every once in a while. You need to get back to an 8 to 10 level. And this is what happened to me. A financial downturn sent me to rock bottom. So low I felt that symbolic cuts from the rocks. I was at level 6 and it's bad feeling. I had to get out of there because people really don't want to be around you with level 6, especially people that can help. And I said to myself, how can I do this? How can I be happy with this devastating situation with no solution in sight? And this is exactly the time when you need to get back to level 8.
What did you do?
Well, first, you need to realize and know that you're at level 6. Happiness, you just recognize it. Then I said, well, try to move that up to 0.1. All I wanted, 0.1 to 6.1. And then get to a 6.3 and do this in a few minutes. And this is what I did. How about being grateful? I tried to think of something I could be grateful for. My house and all these other physical things. No, these take away money and time. Most of the day is spent by people and events taking from us. And suddenly I realized I can be grateful for someone who doesn't take anything from me. And there she was. It's my wife, Joan. That'll give you a 6.1 or 6.2.
Well, how did you get to 6.3?
I needed one more point. And I thought about the idea of being grateful for your own existence. I'd heard about this over the years, but I didn't know what it meant. And then I thought about it a little longer and realized it means I can live my life with high energy, creativity, enjoyment, positive experience, and I can live my life with extraordinary people. No one can take these from me. That gave me 6.3. And from there, I worked my way up to 8 over the next 2 or 3 months. And surprisingly, at level 8, my financial situation was not only better, it was even worse. But it didn't make any difference. I felt good, and I knew I was going to create a successful future. It may be painful. It didn't make any difference. I knew that I would get out of this and my future would be successful. Later, I was at level 8 when somebody at workout, who I hadn't seen for a while, told me that he saw the two of us running. That was Joan and me, many years ago. And he said we were the two happiest people he had ever seen. That sent me flying to an 8.5.
That's a wonderful story. Do you have any closing comments?
Happiness is being content with what you have moment by moment. Being content with what you're doing moment by moment, especially during troubling times. It's living a good life with meaning and contentment. Maintain a happiness level of 8 to 10 for an extraordinary life and success.
This is Joan Epler and Dr. Gary Epler closing today's segment. Next time, we'll talk about post-crisis stress.